All right, New York Mayor Eric Adams has been indicted by a federal grand jury on charges that are set to be released on Thursday. Adams now becomes the first mayor in New York City history to be indicted while in office. If he were to resign, he would be replaced by the city's public advocate, Jumaane Williams, who would then schedule a special election. To tell us more about this and what can happen in the coming days and week, we have co-director Jasmine Gripper from the New York Working Families Party. Jasmine, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
It's a unique day. I think the first in New York history with the indictment. Just initially, what are your thoughts? I mean, I know we're taping this now, and things can change very quickly after it's aired. But what are your initial thoughts about what you've read in the paper so far?
Yeah, this is a serious situation. Mayor Eric Adams is being accused by the federal government of doing something illegal. And we don't know the details just yet. But what we do know is that this has caused chaos for New York City. We have seen top level officials who are also involved in these scandals. And some have resigned already, some are facing indictments themselves. And other people who haven't even been included in indictments are resigning because they don't want to be a part of this sinking ship, essentially. And so this has left New York City vulnerable, especially amongst the top leadership who should be focused on running the city, are now focused on a court case or potential court cases against themselves and their
I
friends.
mean, there have been calls for him to step down. The pressure's only going to become more intense. What do you think? Do you think eventually he's going to step down?
I think the calls to step down are coming from a sincere place based on what New Yorkers need in this moment. In order for us to have the top talent in New York City running our city government and to keep everything functional, we need new leadership that the New Yorkers can trust. Right now, New Yorkers are distrustful of this mayor and what's happening, the lack of transparency from this administration, as well as the multiple investigations. There isn't just one thing being investigated here. There are multiple things being investigated with this mayor and this
Well,
administration.
let's talk about those.
And so I think the calls for resignation will continue.
Let's talk about those investigations. Where are they, and what are they really? It's the first time
Yeah,
the public is starting to really understand it now for the first time. They just know he was being investigated, but now it's like, wow, this is really happening.
yeah. So there's an investigation with his ties to the Turkish government, along with other countries that have not been named yet. There are ties, questions around how he's raised money during his campaigning that have gone against campaign finance laws. And there are allegations around internal corruption in terms of how business has been handled within the city, and who gets contracts and how those contracts are awarded.
So,
And so those are some of the things that have been circling the mayor. The actual charges will be made clear later today.
do you think that there'll be an unsealing of the indictment and we'll know exactly what it is the feds have?
According to the U.S. attorney, yes, we will know at 11:30 today exactly what's in those indictments and what the mayor is being accused of, along with his other senior officials who also have accusations against them as well.
So what it seems to me is that you have accusations of things that he did improperly before he was mayor and he was collecting funds, and then possibly while he was mayor. Am I correct?
Correct.
And which one do you think he's going down on?
It's hard to have a crystal ball on which one is the worst, and where the feds have the most evidence against the mayor. But the fact that this is a historic indictment, that they have never gone after a sitting mayor before, just means that they probably have all the evidence that they need to almost guarantee that he's guilty of what he's being accused of. And so I think New Yorkers have a right to be skeptical of this mayor at this point.
He's a fighter. That much we know. He's also been on our program. He doesn't give up. What do you think's going to happen here? I mean, do you think he's gonna lawyer up? Is he going to be able to even run the city while this is all going on? I mean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think he's going to be busy fighting this legal battle, and be too distracted to actually focus on the city. I think we'll continue to see a stream of resignations of top officials as well as the inability to fill those vacancies because people will not want to come work for a mayor under investigation. I think the mayor will maybe try to fight and maybe he'll resist resignation, but the reality is it's not completely up to him. The governor can force him to resign. She has the power to do so. And there's also a committee within the city that can also like step up and force him to resign. So he can voluntarily resign and give up the position, but there are other mechanisms. Checks and balances work very well within the state and local government that can force him out.
What is the relationship, the present relationship between Kathy Hochul and the mayor? Is it cordial? Are they teammates? Are they on the same page generally?
I mean, they've been friends at times or convenient allies when necessary. But this is layered. I think the politics around New York City, around New York State, around the federal election that's happening right now will play into whether the governor steps up and decides to force the resignation and force the outing of Mayor Adams. We do not know. I think we're all speculating at this point, but it feels like the time is dwindling with Eric Adams' administration in New York City.
It looks like many people who are going to be running against him have a lot to say this morning. Is there any particular person that's been in the news a little bit more often than anyone else with respect to what's been going on, whether it's Brad Lander or whether it's any number of the people who are going to be running against him, Scott Stringer? They've all been on the show. At least Scott has.
I mean, I will say it's really rare for an incumbent mayor to face a primary challenge from within his own party. And so that just shows how weak Mayor Adams is and how desperate the city is for new leadership, that people are stepping up and credible challengers are stepping up to run for mayor. I think what we know will happen in the interim is that if there is a sudden resignation, the public advocate, Jumaane Williams, will become the interim mayor. And what the people can at least rely on in that scenario is Jumaane has been a trusted leader and a trusted voice in the city and has consistently stood up on behalf of working class New Yorkers. And so we are in this moment of turmoil and crisis, and we're hoping that we'll get to a point of stability really soon. And we'll be excited with Jumaane at the helm of the ship, because we'll know we have somebody who's credible in office, who's not facing indictment, and who will be fighting on behalf of the people of New York.
Let's hope so. Let's hope he's okay. All right. Well, anyway, thank you, Jasmine, for breaking down this important information. Stay tuned on BronxNet for more updates, and follow me on Instagram at David Lesh for real-time updates on Mayor Adams' indictment. Watch the news today. We'll see you.